Um, uh, on behalf of the International Association of Jungian Studies, the IAJS Executive Committee, and the IAJS co-chairs, Mary Beth Carter and myself, Stephen Farrer, we want to warmly welcome you all to this year's conference, to this year's what is fast becoming an annual fixture, our year-end conference. Our conference theme this year is the emergence of soul, Jung, and the Islamic world through the lens of lecture and art-based research. Is that not an enticing theme indeed? I want to say just kudos to the conference planning committee and to the conference co-chairs, Rula Maria Deeb and Mary Beth Carter, for what looks like a really enticing and stimulating program over the course of this weekend. Of course, no small thanks also to Fred Berniston, who has inspired the theme this year and who's also a key architect in its construction, but I'll leave it up to the co-chairs to say more about that. I'm not going to get into the specifics of the agenda that you have received. There's simply two agenda items that I would like to highlight for you very briefly, and both of these are happening tomorrow. First of all, tomorrow morning we will begin with the IAJS annual general meeting, and we encourage any IAJS members who are interested or who may contribute to the meeting in some way to be there. It'll be good to have you with us. And then tomorrow, the conference will culminate in the presentation of the C.G. Jung Award to this year's recipient, Dr. Susan Rowland. And I encourage you all to be there for Dr. Rowland's receipt of the award and for her talk that will follow. That's really all, I think, from my side. I just want to say personally, I'm really looking forward to the conference. That looks to be very stimulating and interesting and kind of most apropos, I think, for reasons that I'm sure are obvious to all of us. With that said, I'm going to hand over at this time to the conference co-chairs, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you, Stephen, so much. Wonderful introduction. Well, good day to each of you, and thank you for joining together today to learn and converse on such unique and important topics. We truly envision the conference as an opportunity to talk about the content of the presentations and to dialogue together. This is especially so on the last day of the conference, Sunday, December 3rd, when there is a plenary discussion with the Between Two Seas theme plenary presenters, with time built in for a discussion about the content shared in that theme over the 3 days. I just wanted to say that when we started organizing this conference many months ago, many parts of the world were in conflict, and it was an unsafe place for many people. Conflict, danger, and lives lost have only increased since then. I take this moment to acknowledge this suffering. I'm grateful that those of us gathered today can join together and create our IAJS community. I also want to acknowledge that today is World AIDS Day, December 1st, and remember the many who have died and are still dying from this disease, often so unnecessarily due to political standpoints. A moment. So now on to some housekeeping. All times on the schedule are Pacific time zone. We are working on trying to update the schedule with more time zones, but it is Pacific, Los Angeles, California time. All the presentations will be recorded unless the presenter declines. So far, we don't know of anyone declining. And the presentations will be made available to all of you who registered. And we'll notify you when they're ready. My phone number for text and WhatsApp communications is in the chat, along with my email in case you need my assistance at all over the 3 days. Due to times of day across the globe, for some, this is morning, and for others, later afternoon, and for others, it's already tomorrow. So because of this, there are no breaks because it just already goes so late for many people. All presentation sections will end 5 minutes before the end of each section to give you a 5-minute break and for the Zoom monitors to set up the next presenter. We realize you might miss part of a presentation when you need to take a break, but know that we are recording and you will be able to access the information you may miss. If you are a presenter and plan to use PowerPoint, please be ready 5 minutes before your presentation so we can get you set up. So this conference is truly the brainchild of Fred Berniston and his group of scholars who developed the idea for the Between Two Seas theme for this conference of Jung and the Islamic world. IAJS is grateful to Fred and this group for selecting IAJS to host the presentations and to promote the opportunity for dialogue at this conference on the topic of Jung and the Islamic world. I'm also grateful to Rula Maria Deeb for her creation of the arts-based research theme in the conference. Her expertise and contact with so many arts-based researchers and scholars has brought even more beauty to these 3 days. It has been wonderful to co-create this conference with Rula and Fred. So now I would like to introduce Rula, the conference co-chair, who will say a few words. Then I will introduce Fred, if he's able to join us, who will say a few words as well. So I'd just like to introduce Rula. Rula Maria Deeb is the founding director of the London Arts-Based Research Center, the founding editor of the literary and arts journal Indelible, and the creative producer of the literary event series Indelible Evenings, as well as Site Creative, a virtual salon for researchers and creatives with a background in Jungian psychology. She is a holder of the UK Global Talent Visa as an award-winning literary scholar, poet, educator, and editor, and a recipient of the British Council's Alumni Awards in 2021 to 2022 for culture and creativity in the UAE. Her book, Jungian Metaphor in Modernist Literature, published by Routledge, was shortlisted as a finalist for our IAJS Book Awards, and poems from her collection, Simply Being, published by Chiron in 21, was nominated for the Pushkar Prize. Her MOOC, Why Online Creative Communities Matter, is featured on academia.edu. Formerly, she was an associate professor of English at the American University in Dubai. So you can imagine how incredible it's been to work with Rula. And I would turn it over now to her to say a few words.
Thank you so much, Maribeth. And I mean, really, it's just not fair to take credit for co-chairing this with you because you did so much of the work. I really appreciate all that you've done for everyone. And yeah, I'm glad you, I mean, after I heard you reading my bio, I think I need to kind of cut it by half. So thanks for the reminder. You know, hearing it is different than writing it or copying it down. I also want to take the opportunity to welcome everybody who's here to this wonderful conference, The Emergence of Soul, Jung and the Islamic World Through Lecture and Art. We've got an exciting 3 days ahead of us exploring this intriguing connection between Jungian psychology and the Islamic world. I'm super honored to be here with such a brilliant group of people from around the world, many of you who I know from Site Creative, many of you whose books I've read, some of you who I'm seeing for the first time. So this is quite exciting, being surrounded by so much greatness. And we're all here to enjoy the discussions and connections that everyone will be bringing to the table. And what better way to connect, to learn, to build bridges than through lecture and art, or lecture and creativity. The term art can be a little misleading. So many people, when they see the London Arts-Based Research Center, they think we are a center for painting and visual art. But when we use the word art, I guess today, we're using it as it's replaceable also with the word creativity. So anything, literary arts, music arts, and all that. So throughout the day, I hope you can catch some arts-based research presentations on music therapy, cosmic soul flight, and more. The Between Two Seas plenary session with Fred will explore the intriguing junctions between ablution, sacrifice, and Jung's encounters with Al-Khudr. Tomorrow, Saturday, we'll keep the momentum going with Sufism, Jung's psychology, and Islamic philosophy in the spotlight. And many of the arts-based research presentations will also cover integrative research, alchemical journeys, and active imagination. And the highlight, of course, the C.G. Jung Award presentation to an outstanding recipient whom we all know and love, Dr. Susan Rowland. And then Sunday, we'll bring some captivating sessions on the Quranic story of Al-Khudr, the subtle body in Jung, and arts-based research on Persian carpets, dream weaving, and more. And our journey, at the end, it will wrap up with arts-based plenary sessions as well, that will dive into the measures of proximity between the earthly and the divine love in Sufi poetics and the creative imagination across East and West. So without further ado, I think I'm going to have to stop and let you enjoy the rest of the conference day to day or evening, depending on where you're joining us from.
Thank you, Rula. It's lovely. I don't think Fred is here. I must see him yet, but let me check. Fred? No. I'd like to just read Fred's bio. This is what Fred submitted as his bio. He said, in the summer of 2009, Fred set out from Oxford to meet Samir Mahmood in Cambridge and discuss the deep affinities between Ibn Arabi and Jung. The conversation has continued since then amidst countless disruptions. Fred and Samir made more than one attempt to launch a Jung and Islam research program, but the establishment would have none of it, he says. In 2015, Fred retreated to the West Country, where he wrote his first book, The Cunning Secret of the Wise, a response to the spirit of the times. That was just published in 2023. So I look forward to meeting Fred when he joins us, and I know he will, because I'll be presenting later. I also just want to point out that our day today goes until 2:30. After the 2C's presentation, there will be an arts presentation from 2 to 2:30 by Ryan Bush. And his beautiful photography, as his presentation is entitled The Beyond Series of Photographs, Meditations on the Divine. So please stay for that. It will be recorded, but please stay. I think it'll be a beautiful opportunity to see some incredible images before we close for the day. So that's our opening. We went through it pretty fast here. So we have a bit of a break so we can set up to get started at 10 with our first presentations. So if you'd like to come back at 10 and we'll get started, those who are presenting in the next two segments, if you can stay and, well, at least if Rula and Birgit can stay, we can get you set up. And then we'll start again at 10.